The world is collapsing around our ears, and you turned up a podcast. Say what? Hey, 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 head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, where you can be all your life podcast supporters. This will, if you don't like R.E.M. and stuff, all that will make sense when you get to that part of the episode. Thanks. Have a KRS wonderful day. This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And this is File Underwater, the show where we try to convince you that R.E.M. is America's best rock band.
Yes, despite certain missteps that open their album here now.
Listen, podcast listeners.
If you think that because we like R.E.M. enough to do a show about it, we're going to be kind of radio song, you've got another thing coming.
If you think R.E.M. wasn't hip, that R.E.M. couldn't rap.
Yeah.
Think again.
So this week we're talking about Out of Time, which is their biggest album. It sold over 10 million copies.
Yeah, this is huge.
It's ridiculous. It's their crossover hit. It's their breakthrough hit, like even beyond getting on to Warner Brothers. Like this is the one that kind of made them what they are a little bit in the mind of the broader public who maybe hadn't been following them or watching their rise. And I think has defined them even going forward. Everybody looks back to a good deal of the songs that are on this as like, hey, that's what R.E.M. sounds like.
Yeah, this is the part, I mean, very early on, like the first episode where we talked about like, if you could think of R.E.M. as kind of super adult contemporary, like this is probably where that comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Calm Boy.
Yeah.
These are soft boys. This is when we're gonna get soft. This is, it's not even it's less rocking than Green.
Mm-hmm.
And Green's like not a rockin' album.
No.
Like this is a very mandolin led acoustic-y album. That they ride this for a little while.
Yes, they do. Like this is definitely maybe not part of a trend line because it's probably it's pretty low energy compared to something like Automatic for the People. But yeah, like it definitely follows. It's not a non sequitur after Green. Like there were tracks like You Are the Everything that directly point to the way they would compose and write songs here for this. This came out in March of 1991, 2.5 years after Green came out. Specifically, that delay is longer than any other delay they've had because they toured so much.
Yes.
Like when you're on the road for 11 months, you cannot really write and rehearse new songs.
Yeah. And they thought they were like, we're going to take a very long break when we get back, and kind of didn't, because they're young men. Like Stipe did. Stipe like didn't show up for work for a couple months.
Right.
But like they just kind of got together and were playing instruments. But because they had done this tour, they were like, there's an anecdote where they turn on the amp and like it just made this buzz. And they're like, I don't like this.
Yep.
Like this is making me feel like exhausted already.
Yeah, it's like if you get food poisoning from a place, like if you get food poisoning from Chipotle and somebody brings it in from work, and you smell it, like, oh no. Yep.
Yeah. I was like that was Southern Comfort for a long time.
Oh
yeah. But it's like that. So they had that reaction to rock.
Mm-hmm.
And they just wanted to play different instruments, which they experimented a lot with in Green, but now they were kind of more adamant about it.
Yeah. So this isn't an album that is entirely devoid of electric guitar, but it is taking even more of a backseat than it did in Green.
Yeah.
Yep. A side story about the release of this. So it came out in 1991 when the motor voter bill was being kind of legislated. That was the act that said like, hey, you can register to vote at the DMV. And R.E.M. being, a progressive band was like, hey, the more people who can register the vote, the better. And so they also wanted, they were resistant to selling their CDs in long boxes. Again, long boxes being the cardboard sheaths that you would put a CD case in order so they could be shelved on record stores, shelves, like alongside LPs and stuff like that. So they struck a compromise between these two things, saying, hey, we'll put these in long boxes, but these long boxes are actually going to be pre-filled out petitions for people to send to their representatives saying, hey, I want the motor voter bill to pass. So you have this, multi-platinum album going out, at least in its very earliest days, with a pre-written petition that is kind of meant to flood the offices of lawmakers to say, like, hey, it should probably be easy to register to vote.
Explicitly, combating voter suppression.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So like, tons of relevance now.
Yes, exactly. And it was like a crazy out of the box use of record packaging and a distinctly R.E.M. kind of thing. Again, taking an environmental stance and also, a progressive politics stance.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. There's a really good episode of 99% Invisible about this. I'll find a link for that to put it in the notes. But yeah, it goes into even more depth on that story.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and and that's what a force for good.
Yes.
That's back in the day when we had the liberty of being like, just vote. I don't care who you vote for.
Right.
No longer.
Nope.
Yeah. And so there's they didn't tour, as we mentioned. They did put out they didn't really tour. We'll talk about kind of what they did instead. They did put out this electronic press kit.
Yes.
For it, for people to kind of like butter people up for, which is them kind of talking about stuff we're going to talk about. Yeah. Like their approaches towards making the record, essentially.
Yeah. It was really cool to get to see them, because most of the media is either like these really poorly produced television packages. Like this is them presenting themselves the way they want to be presented, and it's like great to see. I never see Bill Berry talk, but here you get to see him talk a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. His mouth doesn't move when he does it. His eyes glow. That's on YouTube. It'll be in the notes. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
For sure. So like when they sat down to make this, as we mentioned, they got back from the tour. They couldn't stand looking at their amps. The instrumentalists in the band sat around. They wanted to swap instruments, and they wanted to make something specifically kind of more orchestral.
Yes. This push was led by Peter Buck. He's like, we just need to make something different.
Yeah. And again, like you can see that kind of like doing this examination of R.E.M. has been really fun because every album is kind of a reaction. Like you see where this stuff comes from. Yeah. And this is one of those things. Like this is yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can see where it comes from.
Yeah. So like Peter Buck again, he got the mandolin bug from Green. Mills wanted to put down the bass and start playing keyboard. Like he's an incredibly talented musician in a number of ways. And Bill Berry wanted to play bass. So like everybody just kind of like dropped their instrument and moved one to the left.
Yeah. Yeah. And it works. Like it surprisingly works. And we'll talk about this when we start talking about the demos and everything, but this entire process is cataloged.
Yes.
For the first time and last time in their career. The early versions of these songs and their evolution is actually available for purchase.
Yeah.
It's very cool to hear how this kind of shook out.
Yeah.
Lyrically, Michael Stipe really wanted to write an album of love songs.
Yeah.
One of the big, we'll talk about the other also rans for album titles, but the one that isn't embarrassing would have been Fiction.
Yes.
And he wanted to do that just to kind of be like, hey, these are not necessarily things that happen to me or about me. These are just like kind of personas and characters I'm taking on.
Yeah. And that probably would have saved him some misunderstanding for the rest of his entire career. Yeah. It's a little bit frustrating because Michael Stipe goes around and says, oh, I've never written a love song before. Like, dog, you wrote Cahotek. Come on.
Yeah. You've definitely written love songs before, but Michael Stipe is a really big fan of saying like, I've never done this.
Right.
Boy, like that guy would be so fucked on Twitter. Like I can't say like most things are this without the Exception Brigade getting on my dick.
Yep.
And like just imagining like him having to be on Twitter and having to deal with, oh, but actually like, but technically is like the worst, like, or like the also shitty older cousin of, but actually, and like, man, the Exception Brigade is really exhausting.
No, you forgot.
And, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, you forgot. Yeah. He's speaking in generalities.
Yeah.
Like let him be.
I didn't mean to Exception Brigade you.
No. I'm just saying in general. Like it is. And it doesn't add to the conversation when people do that. Like they were. And you were not doing that to him seriously. It's just because something can be worth talking about if it's 80% true. Like if Michael Stipe had said instead of I've never written a love song, I don't write a lot of love songs. That's still a trend that's worth talking about.
Yeah.
It's not useful to be like, well, but actually X, Y, and Z. Again, you're not talking to him, so I don't mind you doing that in our critical consensus
Right.
of talking about Michael Stipe. But it's like, what he means is I don't write a lot of love songs.
Right.
Which is true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the recording session, the recordings for this were pretty easy, right? As compared to Green, which, they spent way too much time in the studio. This just kind of laid out most of what they put down was done either in the first 1 or 2 takes, and a lot of it was done live, aided, I think, by Peter Holsapple, of the DBs. Yes,
yeah, the DBs broke up, so he was available.
Yeah, and he kind of came in to be this flex musician, like with all these people switching all of their instruments. There were gaps that needed to be filled, and he became this unofficial 5th member of R.E.M. To like help them not have to do everything in overdubs, right? Because there still needed to be drums in a lot of cases, so they would do it this way to have everything have a more live feel.
Yeah, and replacing the guy who ended up leaving them for Crying and Driving.
Yes.
There's like a really sweet story in the oral history about like Crying and Driving guy really wanting to be with that band, which I've never actually heard. I meant to look them up before we recorded, but because R.E.M. loves them. I wonder if they're any good. But, and then him having dinner with Peter Buck, it being a little bit awkward, and they're both being nervous because they knew they had to talk about it.
Yeah.
The guy who ended up leaving for Crying and Driving like went to the bathroom to psych himself up.
Yeah.
And came back, and Peter Buck said, "Okay, like I'm just gonna say it. What do you think about going on tour with doing these like this tour with us? We're gonna need you to learn how to play this instrument, or like we need this X, Y, and Z instrument on the album. Like, do you want to do it?" And him like just went to go psych himself up to tell Peter Buck that he quit.
Oh no!
Essentially, and Peter Buck was psyching himself up to ask him to hire him.
Right.
And then he ended up talking to Michael Stipe, and Michael Stipe was like, "No, it's okay. You should be with Crying and Driving."
Mm-hmm.
And then he did it. And then later he ran into a guy at a club. And he's like, "Hey, weren't you the roadie for R.E.M.?" He's like, "Yeah, but I quit him to do Crying and Driving." He's like, "That's fucking crazy, dude." Like I can't believe you did that because it was it's a lower paying gig.
Right.
And but
yeah.
So now Peter Holsapple is the new guy.
Yes. Yeah. At least for this album, it's going to be kind of acrimonious. In a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was an easy time, like we said, here and there, which you wouldn't expect with them changing these sounds so much. And they changed the sound a lot because they knew they wouldn't be touring to support this. They had decided we're just not going to do it. We're burnt out. Let's just write an album and just kind of be a studio band for a while.
Yeah, and that totally changes the stuff you write.
Yes. And
it actually it's worth noting that a lot of the stuff that when it does get performed from this album, it does sound pretty different.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the shows they did do this for this are totally acoustic, and the songs don't really sound like the album versions.
Right.
Because they're not touring with an orchestra. So it made different songs. They actually used the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra to do strings. There's also a string quartet on one of their songs that they used as well.
Yeah.
Yep. So they kind of brought in these session musicians to get this orchestral sound.
Yeah. Scott Litt stayed on again, and they recorded this in a couple of different places. They recorded in Woodstock, New York, and Athens, and then they mixed it at Paisley Park, Prince's weird sex compound.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Just like the no black lights allowed for in a 30-mile radius. Like,
yeah.
So they had these different names. As I mentioned, Fiction is not bad.
No.
And then a bunch of terrible names, including Catbutt, which there's a story about that I'll tell as well here in a second. But Catbutt, Imitation Crab Meat, Last Train to Disney World, Love
Peter
and Squalor.
Buck, stop putting Disney World in your fucking titles.
Yeah, I don't care how how obsessed you are with the Americana of this. Use Graceland for that. Paul Simon did it right. Like if you want something that fulfills that thematic purpose, you use Graceland. And then the Return of Mumbles, which fuck you.
Who is Mumbles? I know Mumbles is Michael's name, but it sounds like a character. It sounds like a creature.
It sounds like it's like Binky the Doormat. It's like Binky the Doormat before he got a new job. Binky shows up.
What's the story about Catbutt? I want to hear.
This is really good. You'll like this. So when they were rehearsing for this album and kind of hanging out in Athens, their studio was right next to the 4U Out Club. And, at this time, as we mentioned, Peter Buck had married the lady. So they would come over to play because they just had to roll their equipment literally next door. But they didn't want to make it a big deal, So they did a lot of these secret shows.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So they would come over and be like, "Hey, can we play?" and then like somebody would, spot like Peter Buck carrying a 12 pack or whatever, a case of beer in, and they'd know what was up. But a lot of times it, they would be to like 75 people, and it sounded super fun and great. They began to do these drunk, sloppy sets. Well, because they never played under their own name, it became a rumor in Athens that R.E.M. was playing under fake names. So people kept coming to the 40 Watt Club being like, and they would see a band playing, and they'd be like, oh, that's probably R.E.M. And there's a band in Athens called Cat Butt Jr. Okay. And Michael Stipe had said in interviews how much he liked the name Cat Butt. If he had made a band again, he would have called it Cat Butt. So with this band, Cat Butt Jr., when they played at the 40 Watts Club, everyone thought they were secretly R.E.M. The doorman would be like, it's not R.E.M., so I'm not giving you your money back. Like, you can come in. If I'm telling you it's not R.E.M., you don't get your money back. And Cat Butt Jr., when they played their show, ended up with like the sold out crowd. And they were a super small band because everybody who showed up thought they were a secret R.E.M.
Okay.
So that just kind of kept happening. Like bands kept like getting these sold out crowds because rumors would go around that R.E.M. was playing.
Oh, that sucks for them.
Yeah.
Oh,
like what a
God.
I mean, if they were able to keep them, like
right. I mean, it got people to give them a chance.
If it worked out that way. But it's such a funny story that in this town it just became these rumors like, oh man, like did you hear like Fountains of Tragedy are playing? That's probably actually R.E.M. Like let's go. And people go and pay their $5 to go see this band that nobody cared about, thinking it was secret R.E.M.
Yeah, that's really funny. Cat Butt is a terrible name for an album.
Yeah,
for R.E.M.
God damn it, Stipe. Really
yeah,
and a band. Like he wanted to name it a band that. And Cat Butt Jr. is not a good name for a band.
No,
it's all good. Don't use. I don't like the word "butt" in anything really.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So they had a tremendous amount of time, or a tremendously terrible time. There we go. Naming this album, like down to where Warner said, "Hey, if you do not decide right now, we're gonna have to delay the album. Like you are out of time." And like, well, that works as good as anything. That sounds like a cute story to explain it,
yes,
a little bit to me, but that's what's out there. Like that is
They'd been messing with Time before that too.
Yeah.
Like Time was like I think Time and Memory was a potential title. They wanted to fuck around with the idea of Time too. It wasn't like just entirely that story.
Right.
It just kind of pushed them over the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like them naming the B sharps or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So this was really, really well received.
Yeah.
This album topped the UK charts at number 1. Hit the number 1 in the US in May.
Yeah. So again, like a couple of months after it came out.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah,
like 2 months afterwards.
Eventually sold more than 10 million copies, which is staggering.
Yeah,
especially compared to everything else. You think about these modest successes where they hit number 9 with The One I Love or with Document, and it's like, and then to see this happen, it had to have been a huge shock for them, even more so than getting signed to to Warner, right?
Yeah.
It's
a big deal. I mean, that was they got advanced. Like this is a real like Warner Brothers did. It was a good investment.
Yes.
They did a $10 million advance. So this was one copy for every dollar of their advance.
Yes.
Yep.
And it won a Grammy too. So they convinced the Blue Hairs that R.E.M. these old boys from the South were worth paying attention to.
Yeah. Was the Blue Hair is a joke about like winning a grandma? Like winning a Grammy? Was that what you were joking about?
No, I just
or the Blue Hair is a like just you mean
like
the old fogies and the Grammy?
Yeah, the old fogies is what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like the idea of them winning a Grammy and that being like they got an old woman. Hey, hello, Joe.
Can I come too? Okay, yeah, sure.
Can your grandfather do this? We keep winning all these Grammys, and yet Tibet is still not free.
This is ridiculous. I mean, like
you need to get out of my house.
They handle the Grammy again. This just sounds very much like them. Peter Buck, ever disdainful of the establishment, wore pajamas to the acceptance, to the ceremony itself. And Michael Stipe wore a hat that said "White House, stop AIDS." Okay, yep.
I'm way into that.
Yep.
Yeah, like people, it's now become this like stupid talking point about whether people should, entertainers should use their platform,
right?
For this, and it's like I'm all in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are just it just makes you seem more out of touch with people. It's like fuck that. I don't know if you can get like an idea behind people, like that's really important because the people who are going to be annoyed by that aren't reachable.
No,
and your annoyance is not more important than like the actual message.
Correct.
So.
And like the clothing stuff was a concession. It was so he didn't have to get up there and make a speech about that. He knew it was a visual thing. So like if I'm up here, I can just thank the people who were involved in this, make what I'm saying about the art and make, my appearance about the cause.
Yeah. And that would work. Like that would get headlines on its own.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yep. So like we said, they were burned out on touring, but that doesn't mean they didn't go places. They stayed out of Europe for a while because this was released around the time of the start of the Gulf War. But when they did start going around, they ended up doing more of these kind of acoustic shows on television and radio in order to, like get out there and spread the word, but just not have to hit every single town. If you go and make a media appearance, it's more people,
Yes. Yeah. So they do, radio shows, these acoustic things. This is in those secret shows, like, Athens secret shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And also secret shows in London are the name Bingo Handjob.
Okay, that's a pretty fun name.
Like, I was actually kind of into that. Like, I had Bingo Handjob. Into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're looking at R.E.M. around town, it feels a little weird to relegate this just to like a little bullet point in here, but it's hard to know where to talk about it. This is when they did MTV's Unplugged.
Yes. Which would be, a good, like, maybe we'll talk about some of the unplugged stuff for like maybe the second, actually, that'd be a good thing for the second letters column, because they did Unplugged and they did that revisit where they did Around the Sun stuff, and they did a second, they came back to Unplugged essentially.
Yes. Yeah. In the mid 2000s. Yeah. Yep.
It's a pretty famous set. Like it's a pretty famous Unplugged because they weren't touring and because this record was such a big deal.
Yeah. It was promoted as the only live R.E.M. show.
Yeah.
That you'd be able to see. Yep.
And it's good.
Yeah.
Like they're in fine form.
The only bummer is that the MTV asked them to do It's the End of the World as We Know It. And so you have Michael Stapp up there awkwardly reading off of a lyric sheet.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, okay, MTV. They did this movie, this guy named Wim Wenders, which like it's a good name.
It's a good name, yeah.
Had a movie called Until the End of the World, which I know almost nothing about.
Yeah.
But R.E.M. did this song called Fretless.
Yeah. Wim Wenders he's a German director who primarily does like arty drama kind of things, and he tends to work with indie-esque performers to do music. He got for one of his movies in the early 2000s, he got the frontman from the Eels, Mark Oliver Everett, to compose the score, and a couple of Eels B-sides ended up on the track for that. I've never seen this movie. We'll talk about Fretless when we get to the B-sides.
Yeah. It was an early B-side that I found.
Yeah.
So it was meaningful to me in that respect. Peter Buck built a studio in his house, in his mansion. And this is where he was kind of like bringing his like heroes, like, people he respected in to work. So he like worked with Billy Bragg and Rocky Erickson. We talked about that in the last episode a little bit. But yeah, he just got to do it, and he was just like playing around all over. Like would play on just about anything.
Yeah. And speaking of playing on just about anything, R.E.M. joked about doing Trogs covers enough that the Trogs business manager reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to come and work with the Trogs to record an album?" So like they collaborated on an album called Athens Andover, and it was a bad album that didn't sell.
Yeah, I've not heard that.
It's not good.
It's not good. I generally kind of like the Trogs. And they do a cover in their live thing, and they do it Unplugged of Love Is All Around, which is a good song.
Yeah. This was the first Trogs album since like the mid 60s or something like that. So it was like way past their prime.
Yeah. That's always a bad sign.
Yeah.
And that's, this is kind of brief. Like a lot of the things that happened to them though, we're going to talk about when we talk about the songs, because it's like them winning these Grammys and their like, first big breakthrough video and stuff, and their kind of international stardom. So without too hard to talk about, that section's kind of a little bit brief, but there's still kind of more things that are kind of related to specific songs.
Yeah.
And
we're
first we got to get the poison out.
Yeah, we have to get the poison out, much like they did, maybe. I'm not going to ascribe any intentionality to this. So they divided the album into time side and memory side. And we're going to begin the song by song with a special guest.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was recorded earlier. And so here it is. So before we actually talk about song by song, we have a very special File Underwater Teenage Dirtbags crossover, because when my roommate and your friend, Brayton Cameron 1, BRMC 1, found out that we were doing Out of Time and Radio Song, he said, "Hey, Gary," and I said, "Do you want to do this thing?" He said, "Yes."
Wait, so you're saying he asked permission and you said okay?
Nope. He just said yes when I asked him for permission.
What?
No. When I asked him to do it, Brayton was excited to do it, but I think I also pushed for him to be on this because this is an inside joke between two roommates.
Yeah. But yeah, welcome, Brayton.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited to talk about this gem.
And because it's the Teenage Dirtbags crossover, here's my Brayton homage. Damn that Brady-O song. Hey, hey, hey.
Brave,
Rents due. Pay. Roommates, listen to the masses.
Hey, Brayton, I didn't get to see you last year when I came out. And you know what? That makes me sad.
I'm sorry.
No. Say what?
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you want to start? First, can I start? Can I just start? Let me start.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with the website genius.com?
Of course, I have that open right now.
Oh, good. So you've looked at the annotation about the lyric, "The world is collapsing around our ears. I turned up the radio, but I can't hear it."
Uh-huh.
And the annotation for those of you listening and not looking at your computer is, "There are so many tragedies in the eyes of Stipe that he can't find any connection with the radio." And I'm just like, I didn't think about that about this song in particular, but it is really shitty where he's just like, I'm going to start the song by saying, "Man, everything sucks. But let me talk to you about how my life sucks because the radio sucks."
I mean, that's how it starts, but you're doing a disservice not to have it start with, "Hey, can't find nothing on the radio. Yo, turn to that station."
Turn to that station.
Yes,
that station.
W.R.E.M.
Before we continue, can we all verify that we're all lifetime radio listeners? Because if you're not, you have to tell me. It's in Rapman. Like you.
Yeah.
It's in Rapman.
I stopped listening to the radio pretty much when I moved out here. But I whenever I go back to Illinois, I always listen to Q101 because how else am I going to hear Candlebox?
A portion of their life, radio listeners. Anywho, so this is Radio Song. This is featuring KRS-One, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
The fourth single from Out of Time, and I frequently refer to this as the most embarrassing R.E.M. song.
It is the nadir, I think.
Yeah.
First track on their biggest album.
Right. It makes the worst impression, and I think actually sullies the first side of this album in a really weird and outsized way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because R.E.M. shouldn't do funk. They really ought not.
Is that what they were going for?
I'd like maybe the bass line comes across like that, and you also have that like on the guitar.
It's definitely funk, but then it has that and the shitty thing about it is that REM ass chorus I think is not so bad.
Oh yeah, like it catfishes you almost. Like when you get that dun 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 dun, like, oh, this is gonna be good. Like, oh, the world is collapsing. Yeah, that's great. Give me more of that. But then I got to the house. I walked up the stairs. I
Michael
crawled
Stipe
into
rapping
bed.
It's just like, I woke up, I brushed my teeth, it's creative writing 101. There's a day like any other, except it was different.
I think there's a line about going to a club, and then there's like a yo-ho-ho, so it was like a pirate-themed.
Oh, Brayton, that yo-ho-ho is one of the moments of this that I think is just like, absolutely like, hurts my stomach. It's like I get Houdini. Like, you know how Houdini died? Like, it's like that happens to me. I reenact it when I got to the show. Yo ho ho.
Hey, go. What happened to the show you did with Gary? Oh, he died. Oh, his appendix burst because he listened to REM the wrong way.
Yeah.
Someone turned on Radio Song.
My appendix said no. Yo ho ho. It's just in KRS-One having to go like yo ho ho with Michael Stipe just being a fucking ninny. Like
yeah.
It's amazing. And like the catfishing thing can't be understated because it happens a bunch of times in the song. Like whenever it switches that chorus, like that everything to show, everything to hide. Like I think that's a good part. And he goes, look into my eyes, listen. and then ding 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 bing bing bing. Hey hey hey! It just goes right back into it. Like
hey!
You get thrown into a pit of skeletons and you're trying to claw out.
I know that like Michael Stipe reached out to like contact KRS-One and have him on because he enjoyed his work, but it really does feel like that when you're maybe a teen and there's that woman, like an aunt or something, who wants to be the cool aunt and is always like, let's do this thing, it'll be fun, and it's always like wearing a weird Dracula mask or something, and it's like it doesn't make any sense, and it's not fun and it's not funny, but like you go along with it, and that's really what I feel like KRS-One is doing in this entire song, where Michael Stipe's just like, come on, it'll be fun, go hey with me.
Well, you say that, but what's interesting is like he sent the tape over to KRS-One, and KRS-One was only supposed to do the hey hey heys. Yeah. KRS-One just wrote and added that rap at the end on his own.
Yeah. And R.E.M heard it like, oh, he captured the meaning entirely. Yeah. We need to add this.
Yeah, and that rap, like,
in 4 lines.
Man, this is on an R.E.M album. The Genius version of it, where you look down at the lyrics, where how many R's it adds to radio listeners.
It's the right amount.
That's exactly. They captured it.
Yeah. What are you saying? What are you playing? Who are you obeying? Day out and day in. Baby, 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 baby. That stuff's driving me crazy. Yeah, it makes sense in like this weird way that like Michael Stipe is getting all super Greenpeace-y, and KRS-One is all about PSAs and kind of edutainment and like kind of activism through his lyrics, and stuff.
Sorry, it was very strange in the biographies that I read, them saying like educational entertainment or quotes edutainment.
Yes. Like KRS-One invented it.
Yeah. It's really rough, and it really does, like, R.E.M has had a couple of songs with rap stars. I mean, this one, and then The Outsiders with Q-Tip, and it's like, but it doesn't feel like they know what to do, and like you said, they just sent them a tape, and he wrote his own rap afterwards. They wasn't even supposed to do it, and the Outsiders in particular, like, as well with this song, like, the song literally ends at one point, and then there's a rap part after it.
Yeah, just add in the hey. It catfishes you into thinking it's over.
Yeah. It's like do the Donkey Kong.
It's actually a lot like that.
Very similar.
I haven't listened to The Outsiders in a long time. Like I had been saving my Around the Sun revisit for the show.
Yeah, there's only so much time I can give to that. Yeah.
Does Michael Stipe rap in The Outsiders?
No, it's a pretty straightforward R.E.M song, and then the song fades out, stops for like a couple of beats, and then fades back in, and Q-Tip raps, and then it fades back out. And Q-Tip's amazing, but it really feels like we wrote a song, something's not right about it. What should we do? I don't know. And then someone was like, "Hey, Q-Tip came over to play some PlayStation. You want him on it?"
Q-Tip and Mills are old friends.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing that makes this embarrassing. KRS-One himself, I think, is also fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Like as a guy, like their KRS-One songs are fine. Like I respect what that guy does. He's got a very charismatic smile.
Yeah.
But the part of this that makes it the most embarrassing R.E.M song is Michael Stipe rapping.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like just and his kind of vocal intonations, and the video. Like you've seen the video, right, Brayton?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, his face that he makes.
Yeah,
during it, like super Michael Stipe serious face.
Yeah, and his like, I'm very uncomfortably trying to dance to an upbeat song right now.
Yeah, and it's also Michael Stipe with his Amish person hair from Losing My Religion.
Yep,
it looks so bizarre. In that context, and like the shitty thing is like the visual gimmick from that video is pretty cool, like how they're projecting faces and doing like those really quick cuts onto those cue cards and stuff. Like I think that is neat and inventive. I just wish it was paired with a better song.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about how much I dislike it, because I feel like it's a disingenuous kind of like empty lyrically. Like I mentioned at the beginning, and then, when you get to the end, the KRS One rap as interesting and maybe at the time provocative as it is, it just ends up being incorrect, where it's like, well, it wasn't actually the radio's fault, it was racism.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you find yourself writing music about music, that is a precarious line to walk, I think, and especially
totally.
writing about the industry itself. Like, no, it's like, I understand, Michael Stipe was like, oh, this song is misunderstood. I would hope that people would have a good enough sense of humor to know that I'm taking the piss out of everybody, including myself. But like, it's still there. It's still the album that contained, it's an album that sold 10 million copies, and people had to listen to this before they got to the song they bought that album for.
Which is Country Feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and people had to be like, if you tell somebody, this happened in our Slack, where it's like, man, R.E.M's really good. And they're like, what album should I start with? Someone could reasonably say like Out of Time, because Out of Time is a really good record.
Yeah.
But when you start it, it's such a terrible first impression. Like, it's not even like just like a grower, right? Like, something like, I feel like Feeling Gravity's Pull or Drive is like a challenging song. It's not immediately catchy, and so it's a grower. Like, it's still a good song, but they're growers. This isn't a grower or a shower. Like, this is just like a national embarrassment. Like, it is such a bummer to me. It's I can't do it. So if people who are listening to this, if you like Radio Song and like it, please tell me why. Like, when we do that letter section, I want to hear your most spirited defenses of Radio Song. And not just like the chorus is good, because I'm with you there. Like, the chorus, actually, the part that sounds like R.E.M. is good.
Don't rap, Stipe.
Please don't.
No, don't. Yeah, of all people. Like, of all people.
Yeah.
Do we have any final, before we end this miniature crossover of Teenage Dirtbags, do we have any other final wrap-up thoughts about Radio Song?
Wrap up start with an R.
Yeah, with an R. Rap. It's the rap, featuring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and KRS-One. No, not really. It just like, I feel like it was an underutilization of KRS-One. I think if the two of them had actually done a collaboration as opposed to more of a like, hey, do what you want with this, it probably would have ended up being a better, more sincere song than whatever it ended up being. Also, it does fall into that like sort of Blondie doing Rapture, like, hey, we're a white band trying to get kids to listen to rap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's never going to be okay. It feels weirdly culturally appropriative, even if it's like KRS-One was totally down with it and they could be friends and stuff. Like, it feels like there's borrowing cultural capital.
Mm-hmm.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Yeah. Dislike immensely. Worst song of the album. Like, we don't even need, this can be disqualified when we do our first and worst.
Oh yeah, this is jettisoned.
Yeah. This is we're taking it out because it's a what's the word in statistics?
Oh, it's an outlier.
Yeah, it's an outlier. This has to be jettisoned.
Yeah. I've got a final thought. I think people should listen to Teenage Dirtbags.
Aw. Thanks,
It's a good and funny show.
Well, thank you. We haven't done any R.E.M. videos. Why is that?
Yes, you have. Yeah, you did Everybody Hurts.
Oh, you're right. We did. Of course. I like to pretend that didn't exist.
But it was a good episode.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. And please listen to that. And thank you, Brayton, for joining us for this short seg.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, and listen to me on Check It Out, Comrade. That's the name of the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Brayby. That's driving me crazy.
Got those easy gamies.
You happen to wear that? You can be a podcast listener.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is KRS-One's like heavy Bronx like Super Mario Brothers accent coming from? Like, I guess he could just live there, but it seems so weird to me.
Radio. Yeah, I love it.
Man. I don't know why that's not my ringtone. Radio listeners.
Yeah, maybe because you just don't want to get punched in public.
Or I don't want to be behind KRS-One at a bank and have that pop up and just have him turn around and it's KRS-One. And be like, oh, he's like, oh, you're a fan? Like, I like that song a lot too. I think it's some of my finest work. And I had to be like,
go.
Anywho.
Anyway.
Take care, Brayton.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
We love you.
Bye.
Brayby. That Brayton is driving me crazy.
It makes me happy that he stopped by.
Shiny, happy Brayton.
What an embarrassment. Not Brayton.
Yeah, what
that
an
song.
embarrassment.
That song.
No. Yeah, well, I'll let him know you said that.
Okay, cool.
No.
And
It's tempting to just talk about it more because I really feel like, and at some point, like I can see us doing a Teenage Dirtbags on it just because I feel like I can just talk about that song like forever. Like I just don't know. Like it's a side. It's gonna be its own episode.
Yeah.
You know, like the radio song episode because it's like
what went wrong? The radio song story.
I'll say this, and I didn't say this during the thing. I'm not trying to extend that part of it. But I forgot to say this when we were doing it. Today, or the day we're recording this, is the day that the House passed the evil bill.
Right.
Just that make it.
I'm going to need you to clarify.
Yeah. I just want to make sure it applied to whenever anyone was listening to it.
Okay.
Like the evil healthcare bill, the second one.
Yeah.
The more evil one, and less evil than the next one they're going to try if this falls down in the Senate.
Right.
So I was really bummed out and distracted. I had to do reading for this, but it was like, man, like every once in a while you just get confronted by the amount of evil in the world and awakens feelings of vengeance and justice in you that you're maybe not comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
And watching this video cheered me up really quick because it's really hard not to look at this happening and just be like, oh, you guy, just kind of laugh about it. Like, it's so stupid, but it made me happy. Like, it was a weird, dumb thing, but it worked. I was like, this is hilarious. This is so bad. It put me in a good mood really fast.
Oh, well, that's something.
Yeah. It's good for that. It's the kind of thing that it's so bad. It's not so bad. It's good. It's so bad. It's noteworthy that I don't know.
Yeah. So this pairing, this first side of the album, I think is actually really uneven.
Mm-hmm.
It really only has one high point. This pairing going from Radio Song into Losing My Religion, they couldn't be any more different. But it's a little bit ridiculous because here is this song about hey, there's nothing on the radio that is any good. And it's followed up by what would become their most notable radio hit. That couldn't have been intentional. It really couldn't have. But that's the way it works out. And the facts afterwards tell a story.
It does afterwards. The thing that it is not, I don't think it is within the R.E.M. camp an idea that Radio Song is a national embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just us. So and there could be other people, none of the books I read talked about it. I feel like us thinking that's the worst song ever, so they didn't do that intentionally because it's not meta. Right. It's just they did that because they liked Radio Song. They thought it was a really good, fun song to start an album with.
Yeah.
But really the album should have started with Losing My Religion. And I think that actually it would have been a really great opening track. Because this is, it's not my favorite R.E.M. song. I think that if you take a step back and look at it though,
mm-hmm.
I think this is pretty masterpiece status.
Yeah.
This feels universal in a way that I don't know if they've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this bore out as far as the reception, but this just feels like a song that's always been.
Yeah.
It's
I forget who said this. It was somebody who was talking about, composing music and just there are certain songs that always would have been just it took somebody to find it. It was always out there. This is a magical combination of of these elements that had to have happened.
It's how they definitely Louie Louie would have gotten written.
Yes.
That chord progression, it got done a bunch of times. It's it's pretty much the chorus of More Than a Feeling. Uh-huh. It would have been everywhere,
Right.
But it just feels elemental in a way that is kind of special, that is harmed by kind of oversaturation.
Oh yeah. I'm you just you kind of subitize it, you hear it and think, oh, that's just Losing My Religion, and the entire thing is summed up into one little thought and then discarded.
Yeah. And that ends up actually being kind of a statement on it. The fact that you can do that it just kind of becomes oh, this is a cliche because this song did it, or this feels so overdone.
Yeah,
because it just feels right.
Yeah, well, TV tropes would call that the Seinfeld isn't funny.
Exactly. Yeah, it's this troper agrees. So yeah, this was the first single. The label didn't think so. The label was listen, Dear Wild Heaven, and R.E.M. was no, trust us. Losing My Religion.
Yes.
And it came out and it just worked.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So it feels ridiculous to talk about hey, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. That's a pretty good song, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're talking about air is necessary, isn't it? But there are decisions that were made in putting this together. The fact that it opens with that mandolin
mm-hmm.
as clear and as you know, and as strident as it is. You know, this isn't the first time that Peter Buck has, you know, used a mandolin on an R.E.M. song, but this is the most front and center that it's ever been. And I kind of have a little bit of a theory that this stuck out on the radio, especially on pop radio, because mandolins are not used there very often, right? That's more of like a country kind of thing, and it's almost always like a backing, you know, a backing instrument. But here it is out there at the start. I think that literally more people heard this just because it's more audible when you hear it in public places.
Because of the actual like music, the tenor
because of the actual audio qualities of the mandolin. I think that got people to pay more attention to it.
Like that could definitely be the case. Like as far as where I thought you were going with that was that it was it stood out more because it was unusual. Because that like tends to work. Any gains you get with that you can lose. Yeah. That's a huge risk. You know, like nobody has accordion on radio songs, but like you know, like you could, you know, that doesn't mean somebody's gonna like it. But I think that you might be onto something as far as just like literally the place, you know, the place it is in the EQ, you know, kind of standing out. Yeah. There was we're recording this between I'm going to see Magnetic Fields 2 nights in a row where he's doing his latest album.
Nice.
And the violin that they're playing is this weird 1900 violin that doesn't have that's attached to a horn. I can't remember the name of it, but it takes the vibrations of the string and positions it through a horn. It's really weird.
Oh, wow.
And Stephen Merrill was talking about it. He says advantages over the traditional violin include volume and directionality. It's like because it's not like a better like tone. It's just it's not a better tone. It's just like loud and you can aim it. That's like you know. So it just has that kind of like, oh, this is loud and will take up a sonic space that like a guitar wouldn't. Everything fires here though. So like. The composition is super standard R.E.M. Like they threw out that like there's no more R.E.M. songs.
Yeah,
like,
no, like this is straight up like D G A minor.
Like, yeah, like never play an A when you can play an A minor. If you're R.E.M.
Oh, come on.
Like you know, and that's good.
I will permit you an A sus too. I will permit you an A sus too. One. You know, and get some E minors. Never play an E if you can play an E minor. You know, it's like. The A minor, E minor, like those chords sound so good together. Oh, they're so fun to do on guitar.
90% of R.E.M. songs are those chords.
Yeah.
Like they're so good together. And C, you just like you can do so much with A minor, E minor, and C and G, and it just sounds so good.
Yeah.
So it's very much that. But part of the reason I think that it's like noteworthy, it doesn't just sound like a traditional R.E.M. song, is the lyrics and kind of like vocal performance, which is some of Stipe's best like vocal performance. Like the lyrics are really great. Yeah. But he's just singing really well, really clearly in like a big, like not obnoxious way. Like it's not doesn't sound like operatic and like shitty American Idol.
Right.
You know, it still like has a human quality to his voice, but it's a good performance.
It's an incredibly good performance because you can hear him gesturing. I don't know, like, so this could just be the video. I hear this and I can picture the motions. I can picture like him putting his back into it quite literally as he's going about it. And like Michael Stipe has always been an incredibly physical singer when he performs, you know, but like this, you know, it feels like an acting job more than anything. Yeah, it's tremendous, and like it's not just like a straight up you know, like we're going to hit this at the same note at the same level of intensity. You know, we talked last episode about how great, you know, like how great those rhetorical devices are, but like that consider this kind of break, just those small little repetitions and the variations and emphasis hit everything and drive it home in a particularly intense way.
It's self-referential and self-canceling constantly too. Like, oh no, I've said too much is like a really universal thing to think about. But the fact that it's referring to the preceding lines, you know, like it keeps kind of revising itself as it goes.
Yeah.
In a way that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. and so to me, you know, as somebody who this would be laser guided toward, this kind of an anthem about insecurity and this anthem about just kind of like being discontent was like I said, laser guided toward me. Like this was my love song of Jail for Proof Rock before I was aware of that poem. You know, like that, like this was an emotional rubric for me that matched, you know, me as a teenager in a huge, huge way.
Yeah. Stipe says it is like a rewrite of Every Breath You Take, but I don't get that from it.
No.
You know, death of the author. Like it doesn't matter what he thinks it is. Like I don't get that from it at all. It feels like similar to what I think you're reading it as, is like as this kind of insecure or like, you know, what it feels like to be unsure of a social interaction and unsure, like be in your own head and not in someone else's, you know, like trying to keep up with you. Like, I thought I heard you laugh. Like I've said too much. I've not said enough. Like, there's distance in your eyes. Like it's very specifically towards one other person and about that kind of connection between people. And like, I think I thought I saw you try is such a brutal line.
Yeah.
Like, and it's delivered, like, it's not just a brutal line because he's had brutal lines before, but it's delivered like musically at the exact place it needs to be in the song to have the most impact.
Yeah.
You know, like that line wouldn't work as well if it's in the middle of the second verse too, you know, as opposed to ending every chorus with it.
Yeah.
It's just it's really, really impressive to me.
Yeah. I'm actually getting emotional, like talking about this because like it's, you know, you hear it. And again, like I said, everything is summarized up to it, but like it is this perfectly constructed, thing about obsession. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
it still doesn't feel like obsession to me. It feels like communication to me.
Yeah. I just like obsession with wanting it to be better, you know, like with another person, with a gap between you and somebody else.
Like, but very specifically like self-focused.
Yes.
You know, so it's not about like Every Breath You Take is about, and there's a couple lines that sound a little bit like Every Breath You Take to me, but like that's about like you, the object. This is about, or you know, not you, the object, you, the subject.
Yeah. Like this is so inward turning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to where that's what makes it feel good and universal to me, because if this was a shitty love song about quote unquote you.
Yeah. Oh no.
Like it wouldn't work, but it's so self-reflective. And I think that's what's good about it. It's all about self-doubt.
Yeah, like I thought that you know, everything you're just unsure of it. Yeah. So like I used obsession when I probably should have said anxiety.
Yeah,
you know,
anxiety
which are related emotional kind of. They have a similar emotional root. You know.
Yeah. It's just everything is kind of qualified and unsure, and it has that conversational style to it. And like, how good of an opening is just "Oh Life" like as a thing?
Especially the way he delivers it too.
Yeah.
Like that is such a powerful opening that in non-English speaking countries, that's what this song is known as. Yeah, you know, it is. It is "Oh Life."
they had a DJ friend who was in the Middle East, and they're like, why is nobody like requesting our song or whatever? When they're talking to her, they do. They just call it "Oh Life." Yeah. You know, specifically, it's just because it's really universal, and that's like the main thing I can come back to the song is it just like feels like the song came with the universe. You know, it's part of the pack-in. Yeah, you get it with Super Sackboy Racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget what I was going to say. Like I don't know that I can heap it. I don't know if I can heap too much praise, but I don't know if it would be worth doing more. On top of the video. Yeah, let's talk about the video. So this is directed by Tarsem, the director of one of my favorite movies, actually, The Fall.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just Tarsem.
Yeah.
Who is I don't love The Fall actually. Like I think that it's not a very good movie. It's visually amazing. Yeah. And I think he works really well in video because of that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like it. It's not a tremendous film, but like as a sensory experience, it is second to none.
Yeah, it is really, it's something. Yeah. You know, and I think that just comes across so well in video. And this is the first, I think, great R.E.M. video. Yeah. Like I like the video for It's the End of the World. We know it a lot. And it's really good. I think this is great.
Yeah.
And it's just because it is one, it's just kind of like competently done.
Oh yeah.
You know, like the cuts and everything that are being made in this just feel less amateurish and like willy-nilly.
Yeah, they feel more intentional than Michael Stipe saying, "Hey, I want to cram all these images into this."
Yeah, like let's just do some montage theory and just kind of put things next to each other and just kind of cut randomly. Like all these cuts feel like they're just to the rhythm better. Like it just kind of plays the image better.
Yep, they're motivated better by character motions, which is difficult to do because most of everything here is done in tableau. Like there's very little actual action. It is entirely done in expression and shifting eye lines.
Yes. And they kind of it sets up the band all dressed up like they're from the village and they're about to find out the secret of the village.
Yeah.
And then there's three other
they look so in place as members of the village, like each and every one of them.
Yeah, it's very villagey. Like it's, you know, and then these three other little kind of tableaus that are going on, these little situations. Yeah. That are all kind of vaguely like Icarus themed.
Yeah.
It feels like in the Crucifixion and Icarus are the two things I get from it.
Yeah. Incredibly striking. Let's just say like makeup and kind of costume design going on here. Props like that set of wings that they make to replace the other ones that fall off on the old guy.
Yeah, that's great. It's kind of Bloodborne.
I mean, yeah.
Like I mean, it is like it's parts of it are, and so it's full of like just the lighting and makeup and stuff. Like it's full of beautiful humans.
Yeah,
like the way it's like the black kid with the blonde hair and the angel wings. Like it's like, I'm not generally attracted to men, but I can just be like, that's a beautiful human. Like that is a beautiful specimen.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of people who are just like, that is a beautiful person.
Yeah, and like it's playing with androgyny in a really cool way. Again, just sex and gender are kind of out the window. You have this person of ambiguous sex who's kind of crucified, who has the arrows kind of cartoonishly sticking out of them, like ambiguous sex, ambiguous race, kind of ambiguous age, in this kind of horrible situation. It just and the colors in the video as well, like everything is done in this kind of like desaturated, it's desaturated without actually being like treated. Right. It is just the choice in lighting and the choice in colors. Yeah.
Which is just like, kind of expertly done, I think.
Yeah.
And this was their biggest video as well. This won tons of awards.
Yeah.
6 VMAs. Every time Michael Stipe came on stage, he wore a t-shirt with a different slogan.
Right.
Which again, doing the same thing he did with the hat. For
Rainforest, love knows no color, wear a condom, choice, alternative energy now, the right to vote, handgun control.
Remember when like wear a condom was like a radical thing you'd have to say? There whole songs about it. Like it was just like that was a thing, Yeah. That's kind of weird. We should also mention that this was banned in Ireland because the idea was that it was anti-Catholic because of the imagery and because of the name, and the name does not refer to religion.
No,
it's for people. This is this is the Doki Doki Panic of R.E.M. trivia factoids.
Right.
But like it is losing my religion is a Southern expression for like at your wit's end.
Yeah. Nobody believed Michael Stipe. Like nobody in the band really believed it until they met somebody in New Orleans, I think, like an older person who was like, oh, I haven't heard somebody say that since the 1920s.
Yeah.
It's like just literally like I'm at my wit's end. Like I am so exasperated that I will drop all pretenses of being, a religious God-fearing person because I need to cut me a switch.
Yep. I'm unmentionably fresh on my mensch. So like really, really good song. Yeah. Moving on to like what I agree is an uneven side, even though there are things I like about it. Low, which this got dusted off a lot during the previous tour.
Yes. This is also one of the first ones they completed because it had been done live so much. I don't much care for Low, actually.
Wait.
What's that?
I said,
Oh,
I'm kind of surprised. It seemed like something that you would like.
Nah, it's just it's way too low energy for me. Like just the
fascinating. We'll do the show long enough, and I'll understand where the line is, man. It's fascinating to me. Really, do you like Drive your favorite R.E.M. song? Like,
oh, it's one of them. I really enjoy Live, Drive.
Lightning Crashes.
Sorry. Don't hold that misspeaking against me. No, I really enjoy Drive, but I think that Drive has a lot more going on than this one does. For the majority of Low, it is just muted guitar and Michael Stipe kind of sing-talking and not really saying that much interesting to me, actually. And when it does break out, I don't think it breaks out enough.
I'm almost there. The part that where it does break out during that bridge, I think that justifies a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't absolutely love the song. I just expected it to be something I didn't like and you liked more.
You're bracing yourself for it.
Yeah, did you call me a racist for your song choice?
No, you're bracing yourself for it.
Oh, okay. Like, you're a racist for your song choice. What?
No.
Did you hear how much I made try to say that I didn't dislike Radio Song because of KRS-One? To me, that the part of this where it breaks out, like you and me, we know about time. Like we know about like that part. I think that's a really good couplet, and I like that section a lot.
Yeah.
Again, that kind of conversational thing, and this is this dark, like super dark love song that the idea being here is just kind of like it's over, this kind of thing, and like that kind of resignation I think you can feel in all of it. I think that it is not. I mean, that's my golden watch word, but I don't think it's quite dynamic enough.
Yeah.
It's for that bridge that I kind of like, that the song lives or dies for me.
Yeah. I liked this better when they did it with Crush with Eyeliner.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that song too.
Yeah.
They feel pretty different to me though.
Oh.
Near Wild Heaven. So Mike Mills is getting lead songs now.
Yeah. And yay, I like it.
Yeah. This is a good song. Like this feels like it's distinctly throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't feel like a song that is consequential.
Yeah, like of the two Mike Mills joints here, I like Texarkana a lot more. It actually might be my favorite song on the album outside of the singles. Yeah, I like Texarkana an awful lot. This, however, is just incredibly pleasant. It does feel throwaway and also throwback. It's very 60s-y. It's got a Beach Boys kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
That was intentional when they set out to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Mills and Stipe kind of work together on this, and they kind of do this back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Because Michael Stipe sings a lot during the chorus.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool round thing to it.
Yeah, that's a trick they do a lot on this album, and I generally enjoy when they trade off lines like that.
I think the song is very sweet. I think it is lyrically really vapid, and I think almost everything Mike Mills writes is very lyrically vapid. Like I think Texarkana is really vapid.
Oh.
Like I like that song a lot, but that sounds like pop fluffum to me. Like they feel like cliches. This feels like cliches too.
Yeah.
But I don't care about that because it's not. That's not my driving force. Like musically, I think this is really catchy and good.
Yeah.
It's weird that it was a single because it's hard for me. Like Mike Mills has that weird property to his voice when he's a lead.
Yeah. Well, also like the way they produce him as well.
Yeah.
Is they like we talked about this during Superman, but like they make him a ghost. It's especially here and a little bit in Texarkana, like it just sounds like they have mixed him and treated him like he is like the background vocals with no lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually we didn't talk about this in production, but there's an interesting thing they did with when they made this album in general, which was recorded all the instruments analog and the vocals digitally.
Right.
Usually do the opposite of that, but they switched it because the idea was that Michael Stipe's voice is warm enough to kind of cut through that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe Mike Mills, because of that treatment, because it does have that digital effect, just sounds very digital.
Yeah, very
maybe
kind of insubstantial. Yeah.
So that's kind of part of what adds to it, I think.
Yeah.
But this is still a very good song.
Mm-hmm.
The video is pretty boring.
Yeah, it's just them having fun around town.
Yeah, goofing. They're actually like kind of promo videos for most of these things on something called This Film Is On.
Yeah.
Which I didn't send you copies of all those because they were part of like this compilation, and a lot of them it's very similar to the Reckoning one.
Yeah.
The Left of Reckoning one, where it's just kind of like they're not like Losing My Religion. They're not
like it was like people that Michael Stipe had worked with C100, his video company, and just kind of like, hey, why don't you direct these clips? In the books that I read, it was a little bit almost like a credibility play because having made this gigantic high production value, incredible video with Losing My Religion, like going smaller was a way for them to, retain a little bit and also like throw some bones to people that Michael Stipe had worked with. So that's where some of those promos came from for this one.
Yeah. Who have less resources and also like are kind of maybe not as talented.
Yeah, sensibilities that are not in line with making tremendously good music videos for R.E.M.
Yeah, like it's fine. It just feels like art school college stuff. Like what if some people did some things? I don't know. I don't think there's a lot to a lot of those kind of videos.
Wait a minute, the fire hydrant has opened up. Everything has changed.
Yeah. The side ends with Endgame. Mm-hmm. Which is also very slight song kind of musically and just has la la la's for the lyrics.
Yeah.
That I think is actually very pretty.
Yeah, it's good. They initially titled it like end credit sequence or something like that. Like this was just written as a flight of fancy, like, oh, this chord progression sounds like it would play over a movie's credits. Mm-hmm. And so they filled it out. Like Michael Stipe, I think maybe trying to get away with not doing work was like, some songs they just don't need lyrics. They would get in the way. This one,
I think the la la la's are good though.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah,
yeah. If it didn't have the la la la's, I think the song would suffer for it.
It's still very pretty, and it has that. It's they bring in a string quartet for this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story about Michael Stipe being very excited because the flugelhorn player they bring in worked with Henry Mancini.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of cute,
Yeah, geeking out about Henry Mancini.
Yeah, just like, ooh, that's one of my favorite flugelhorn players. I keep seeing him on the corner of Fugue Monthly, like Fugle Beat.
Yeah.
Pretty cute.
Yeah. Switching over to the memory side, which I think this is something that breaks the trend. When has an R.E.M. album ever had a stronger back half than first half?
Yeah. And I would agree with that, even though like I like Low probably a little bit more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
I like and I like Near Wild Heaven and Endgame, but they're a little bit middling.
Yeah,
they're good songs, but like they're B's.
Yeah, and they're attached to the anchor that is Radio Song.
Yeah, and then Radio Song does leave a bad impression.
Yeah.
This album, if you just took Radio Song out, then the first side would only be 4 songs. That wouldn't work.
Right.
But you could do an arrangement of this that put something from the second side and made this almost equitable.
Yeah.
It's a Radio Song is going to sink any average.
Yeah. But the memory side opens up with Shiny Happy People.
Yes, an infamous R.E.M. song. Infamous. Whereas Radio Song should be infamous.
Yeah.
People are just like, oh man, Shiny Happy People, so annoying. I'm like, baby, you're driving me crazy.
Yeah. I like Shiny Happy People an awful lot.
Yeah, I don't mind it like that much.
I mean, it's overplayed.
Got burnt out on it.
Yeah, I don't think that it stands up to being overplayed or oversaturated quite as well as Losing My Religion does. Just because it is like it's uncut is the problem. Like it hits you with its full force of what it is doing, and like Stand, it was designed with an intention, right?
Yeah, the idea was just like, how stupid and how kind of goofy can we make this? Like, and the band members, like, bless them, like when they talk about this, they keep going back and forth, and it's just like, this is the dumbest thing we've ever done. This is fine. This is kind of it's good, but I wouldn't want it played at my funeral. Like all these things, and I just want them to like relax a little bit. Like it's again, pop music is hard. It's okay to make it. And it's a weird thing though, because it's not like Stand. It kind of dips into that, like, even if it is kind of ironic, it doesn't, like, it's musically, the production matches the lyrics too much for it to feel ironic. Like, specifically having that kind of that waltz in the beginning, and then that post chorus, like, do, like, kind of break. Is just so, like, it's so musically non-ironic. It's like musically sincere in a weird way.
Yeah. It's incredibly earnest, and whenever Michael Stipe isn't calling this an abortion, he is coming around saying the worst thing that somebody could do was ascribe any kind of cynicism to this. Like he heard Peter Buck's guitar lick, the da-da-da-da-da-da. He was like, oh, that like that is ridiculously happy. And like he's talked about how it's easy to write a sad song. It's actually really hard to write a happy song because it's hard to be happy. And so like he has written this, and he like it is entirely genuine.
And he said that like it's even designed kind of like sing along to be happy because it has all those like long E sounds. So like when you sing it, you kind of naturally smile, like your face kind of makes E, like you kind of smile to make that sound. Yeah. Even which is kind of sweet. I think it is played out. It's like it is a fine song. I think that when we if you compare it to Losing My Religion, you say it doesn't, or we say, like, I'm not disagreeing with you, that it doesn't stand the overplay test as much. It's because it's not a masterpiece,
right?
It's a perfectly functional kind of goofy song. There's place for that in people's kind of canons, but it doesn't have those kind of staying power to work with the exposure that it got. So I think something that happens when people talk about this or think about it is that the chorus gets in the way of the verses a little bit. I love the verses. I think that they actually do have a little bit of melancholy to them in a way that Happiness does. And that kind of like the descending chord over like the gold and silver shine part is really nice. Like there are moments of like kind of beauty in this. And I like the way that the lyrics are split up as well.
Yes.
So I like the singing rather. So I like that it's Michael Stipe, and then during the chorus they kind of take turns with Mike Mills is there, of course, smiling politely in the background. But then we also have Kate Pearson from the B-52s, and it's their first collaboration, which is kind of weird.
It's the first female vocalist on an R.E.M. song.
Yeah.
It's great.
I love Kate Pearson.
Yeah.
Like, Beef and Shoes are great.
She's super fun in the video as well. And her harmonies when she's singing along, the verses are really great as well. Like
She has a great voice.
Yeah, she's not just present in the choruses.
She's a great singer because she can do those harmonies and mix in perfectly. And then when she takes the lead, her voice is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's something like Neko Case can do as well.
Yes.
That, like, I think is just like really, really impressive. Like, you are a great backup singer and a great lead singer.
Yeah.
And those are different skills.
Yeah, those
and
are
not
completely different skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas like Mike Mills is maybe not a great lead singer.
Yeah.
Like, I end up liking Mike Mills' lead songs, and I like it when My Boy Gets a Bone, but it's they do sound kind of weird.
Yeah.
There is that inhuman quality. So it's kind of a different thing.
Yeah.
Belong is another old song.
Are we going to talk about the video?
Oh shit! Yeah, we did.
The video that begins like in my head, that weird waltz is powered by this old man on the on the bike. Because you only ever see him powering this mural, which was drawn by grade schoolers when he's pedaling his bike.
And just doing silly dances around it. And Michael Stipe is dressed like a Batman villain. He's ready for the floor. He's gonna kill the members of Hot Chip. Like, it is no good.
Yeah, that backwards hat. It would you could sell it without the backwards hat.
Yeah, he's going bald.
Yep.
Like, this is where he's always wearing a hat. Like, every picture around here, and it's because he's like, he doesn't go bald gracefully.
No.
Which people tend not to.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Belong is a super weird song. I'm generally okay with it. But this is definitely an early 90s kind of thing. Like, R.E.M. did this, the Eels did this with like an instrumental that has somebody reading a story over top of it.
Yeah, and then like a sung chorus, but
Yeah.
like just the sounds, not words.
I love that chorus. The
Oh yeah. I actually, so this is an old, like I said, they did this on tour. Earlier in this, I actually love those lyrical constructs. So we keep coming back to that, but this kind of like reporter-esque like delivery. This third-person narration of a story.
Yeah.
That's happening. The kind of that I really think it's good. And it's abstract. Like, we don't actually know what's happening.
No, those
which I really
creatures
love.
jumped the barricades and have headed for the sea.
Yeah, like the lyrics are like super evocative.
Yeah.
And just this person seeing this kind of thing and not just having a kid, having stakes. That's a really good like shortcut to stakes without underlining it too much.
Yeah.
And that just really being it. The barricades can only hold for so long. Like it's just like there's this resignation to this that I think is like really kind of great lyrically.
Yeah. Well, it's delivered with a super flat affect.
Yeah. It's very good. Like, I like Belong a lot.
Yep. Also, I love that that guitar riff. The
yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, very good. Half a World Away is a gut wrenching song.
This is my favorite song on the record.
Oh, nice.
I love Half a World Away quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think this is very, very sad, very, very sweet, and like really, really relatable.
Yeah.
In a lot of parts. So.
Yeah. Oh, this Lonely Deeps and Holy Way.
Yeah. Really good. And then just he does he has like a lot of my favorite like R.E.M. Kind of tropes. Like the weird kind of like breaking out and almost kind of cracking his voice, like when he says like the high alive part of it and stuff. That is just like really good. It's in a time signature I like.
Yeah.
It's in this kind of like swing. No, it's a 3. It's like a 6/4.
Okay.
Like it's a 3, like some variation of 3.
Yeah.
So it's this waltz, but it's a fast-paced waltz, which I like.
Yeah. Like this feels like them taking another crack at Swan Swan Hummingbird, and hitting it better.
Yeah, it's definitely like a little bit like more earnest.
Yeah.
And because Swan Swan Hummingbird was just kind of abstract.
Yeah.
Fluff. Like some of those lyrics are great, but this is actually vulnerable.
Yeah.
And again, and sad.
My mind is racing as it always will.
Yeah, like it feels like it's like you write like the kind of thing in a hotel room when you're away from like your love,
Yeah.
I love this song quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really good. It's just that opening line, and the way his voice cracks on it. Again, like it's hard to know if he's doing that on purpose. Like because he is he is a voices instrument guy. Like that, he has to know how powerful that is.
Yeah. And it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So great work.
Yeah.
Good work, fellas. I hope I didn't sound down on Texarkana. I like Texarkana a lot.
Yeah, I like Texarkana a lot. Musically, I think it's really good. I also think that like this is, a Mike Mills led joint where actually he gets a chance to put some drama into the performance. And the instrumentation backs him up on that and kind of like lifts him up and raises it. I think that it is like super musically interesting, even if the lyrics are a little bit insubstantial. Like this is, I think that it's deceptively good.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I think that the thing with the lyrics is they feel a little high schooly to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't can't not think about that. Like I would walk 500 miles.
Oh yeah,
kind of thing. Like if you just kind of take an exaggerated number and use it feels like a shortcut, and it backs up with the story of him. It's like full of cliches.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would wait all my life. Like I would give it all. Like these are all like cliche kind of love song things.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it really is. I like the way it escalates. I like how the first verse is 20,000, the second verse is 30,000, the third verse is 40,000. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I like Catch Me If I Fall as like a kind of a cliche, but like the way it's delivered is great.
Yeah.
And the outro with it is really great too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. This is just one of those places, like times where when we switch places, and the lyrics are not as important to me as the as the songs and the
music and the
music,
both of which I think are great. Like I like the song a lot. Yep. Okay. Again, I do. This might be a good time to talk about, even though it's in our roundup, the demo.
Yes.
Of this. Did you listen to the demo on the Apple thing?
Yeah, it's really weird.
The one with the Stipe lyric one? Because there's two. There's like one where it's just the instrumentation.
Yeah.
And then there's Stipe's like original take at this, which is why it's called Texarkana.
Right. Yeah. So Texarkana's never mentioned. And like this was handed over to Mills halfway through, and he wrote new lyrics on top of it.
Yeah. And it's kind of fascinating. The original version, which Stipe couldn't finish, is a very different kind of song that if they had developed, I also probably would have liked.
Yes.
Like this, this idea of like going out on the county line, like, I think that like, and when it goes to the chorus where he's like, the county line, another county line. Like, I think that's shitty, but it was going somewhere with that. And it's really cool to see that early version. It's like the early version of Fall on Me.
Yeah.
Where it just sounds so different with Michael Stipe singing the song.
Yeah. That is a peculiarity, I think, of the way that R.E.M. writes songs, with the playing members kind of coming up, and then the, even with Michael Stipe being more involved at the start, still coming to it later and saying like, we just need something that can go over top of this. Yeah.
And it's just really cool that like we got to hear that. Like that's something that has happened before. You read about it, but now you actually get to hear the version, like, the version that was the instrumental they made that they gave to Stipe to write some lyrics. The version Stipe took a crack at it, and then the ultimate version that happened when he couldn't do it. Like you get all three Pokemon evolutions of Texarkana. Like Texarkana evolves into Tekarkanachu, and then like, Texarkana's art.
Yep.
It's.
Yeah, no question. It is amazing that stuff is like packaged up. That was packaged up and sold it all. Like, I don't know. They might as well have just like given us the stems.
Yeah, it's really neat. Yeah. Country Feedback is a great song as well.
Yeah, love this.
I figured you'd like that. See, now I'm recalibrated.
You're Coldar. Yeah, so it's so weird how strong this album ends, because like my favorite would go back and forth between Texarkana and Country Feedback.
Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, because like this is a nice compromise between super menacing R.E.M. and what we see elsewhere in the album. I think that like this fits in a way that actually like feints toward what they would do with some of Automatic for the People.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And the lyrics to this again are this gets like repetition is something that I think is like needs to be sometimes treat. This gets away with so much just repeating like it's crazy what you could have had, like as a kind of a repeating statement, like a meditation.
Yeah.
And just it becomes this accusation when you say it 14 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like it ends up like kind of transcending its simplicity, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. It's also very strange to hear Michael Stipe curse.
Oh yeah.
It's very cathartic too. Like I'm not saying that's like gratuitous. Like it leads in with him being fed up. It's not fuck off. It's fuck all.
Yeah. And even if it's fuck off, I'd still fine. Because it sounds like a bitter breakup song.
Yeah.
And then the lyrics it sounds like it musically, and then the lyrics also support that.
Yeah. And it's great. Like, this is a song that is made by its production. Like, that's why it is named that. Like, they have a really kind of screechy guitar that is playing a country part, that has, these feedback loops built into it.
This was recorded, the guys where they record their Christmas fan club singles. This is where they recorded that.
Yeah.
This like demo. The version that's on the album is more or lless that they recorded it there.
Yeah.
So this was not done in the studio. They used their demo track and kind of like taking an old page of the Murmur cookbook or whatever.
Yeah. So. Something we didn't talk about with Belong, since you brought up a recording trick. That story was recorded on a Walkman in a garage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just because Stipe didn't like the way it sounded in studio. Yep.
Yeah, I like that effect on his vocal quite a bit.
Yeah.
The album ends with Me and Honey, the second Kate Pearson collaboration kind of on the album. She actually has backing vocals on maybe Country Feedback, actually, but it's super low in the mix.
Yeah.
So you can't hear them. But this is the second prominent vocal.
Yes.
That she did.
Yeah.
Which is Michael Stipe's answer to Natalie Merchant's Eat for Two.
Yes.
Which is a really kind of like good song about pregnancy.
Yes.
And him wanting to do it. What about males? Why don't men get a chance to talk about pregnancy?
Well, a couple really
good
good
MRA
reasons.
Michael Stipe. Yeah.
I think this is a sweet song, though. Like, for as misguided as that premise might be, who knows if it was misguided at the time? I really don't know. Like, I think that it is incredibly vulnerable. Yeah,
absolutely. It's direct, but just very 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 sweet, and that's a part of me is like very like what a thing to say about a child.
Yeah.
And the way again he delivers it, that breaking on me,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of sour like holding that note is why I love him as a lead singer.
Yeah.
This is real good.
Yeah.
This is a great album ender, because that's not something they do great all the time.
Right. Composition wise, this is a single chord except for the chorus. It is just a riff, I think around a D, maybe. I could be wrong. I didn't look at the tab, but like it is incredibly simple. Everything is done on the vocal over top of it. And like nobody thought this would turn into a song. Michael Stipe just heard like a 10-second recording of this riff and was like, oh, I think I can do something with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, D flat, do it.
Yeah.
And it's they made a thing out of it. They make like a song that sounds good in full.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I always forget that it's there.
Yeah.
Like it weirdly feels like a little bit of a PS at this album, but I think it works.
Yeah. It's just kind of peeking out around Country Feedback, which again would not be a very good way to end an album, I think.
No.
Yeah.
That would be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So first and worst. I'll go first because and Radio Song is disqualified, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and disqualify Losing My Religion because I respect that more than I love that song, but I'm going to take that out of the running.
Yeah.
And then for me, it's pretty easy. So Half a World Away is my number one. And then probably my no-go is probably Shiny Happy People, which I like, but I think I like it less. I think it's less interesting than the other ones that I think are middling.
Yeah.
Maybe.
My first would be Texarkana for reasons mentioned before, and my worst would be Low. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and I wouldn't argue with that about Low.
Yeah.
I just that's probably my tie for
when
I don't like it. Just kind of
different reasons.
Yeah, things to recommend it, but I don't love it either.
R.E.M. never performed a version of Low with Monsters from Sesame Street.
Yeah, unfortunately, which they could have.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of oddities and rarities and stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to move through these a little bit quick.
Yeah.
Some of them are, we're on a little bit of a deadline, which I can extend a little bit, but just so you know.
Yeah.
Just peeking behind the curtain, I had to go to that concert.
No.
So they did. There's a Leonard Cohen tribute album called "I'm Your Fan."
Tons of people contributed to that.
Yeah. It looks good. I haven't actually listened to it, but it's a good lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought of this. It's a good thing for us to do for one of our. So we do the Unplugged as the kind of thing around one of our Dead Letter Office episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard any of the R.E.M. tribute album?
No.
It's called "Sing for Your Pig," I think.
No, I haven't.
It's interesting, and it has I think it's Peter Hostaple does a different, a very different weird interpretation of Shiny Happy People and stuff. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So that would be a kind of a cool thing to do, or if we did another charity bundle or something.
Yeah.
But so this is them doing their contribution to a tribute album.
Yes.
With First We Take Manhattan.
Yeah. It's really good. Like it doesn't sound like a Leonard Cohen song, which is kind of the point. Leonard Cohen, his compositions, feel like whenever people adapt them, it never sounds like him.
Yeah, I like this version more than I like the original.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of driving. It has some feet to it.
Yeah. Fretless, like we talked about with that Wim Wenders movie. Super spacious. It is definitely very ballady, but it does feel big and empty. And I say that in a good way with all affection.
Yeah, I don't think I like this one.
No,
I don't think it's melodically very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like that come and they come and they come and they come. Like I don't really like the chorus to it. Which this is my favorite song. I remember, like I said, this was an early B-side I found, so I was really excited.
Yeah.
To find Fretless, and then just like it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
There's a demo version of this as well, so you can hear an instrumental version of it early on. It totally doesn't work for me. It's not a disaster or anything. It just it's not my fave.
Yeah. Let's talk about these fan club tracks. Or no,
there's a song called Sugarcane as well.
Yeah.
Which will become a B-side called Mandolin Strum eventually. But this is an early version of it that's a little bit different melodically and sounds like production from Losing My Religion to me. Like they're picking up. There's a couple like little licks.
Yeah. There's like some chords of ideas that he's like working out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like worth listening to, but not substantial.
Yeah, it's not essential. Yeah. The fan club. Speaking of not essential.
Yeah.
We got Good King Wenceslas. What's going on? Gary?
Yeah, Good King Wenceslas is one of my favorite Christmas songs because I think it's so dorky and weird. Like the way it's bum 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 bum. Like you sing it like as if you were trying to do Foley for a cartoon elephant. And then I think and also like saying Wenceslas is very funny to me.
Oh yeah.
But this is just, again, I mean, it's not quite as bad as the from the last album, but it's not good.
Right.
It's super weird.
We should probably group this together. There's another one that was released around the same time, maybe the next year or the year before it, called Christmas Griping.
Oh my god! Like, oh my god!
What the fuck?
Yeah, this is incredible.
It's like a super bad instrumental with people complaining about Christmas over top of it.
And just complaining about it, and then just like, I mean, and it's literally just like if there's an instrumental and they just invite anybody who is in the room to say something, and so just be like, I can't believe I have to take my nephew to the mall.
I've got to go shopping.
That's the lyric. Like, what? What are you guys doing? Like, oh man, that's rough.
Yeah, like something like this, I could see maybe if it sounded like anybody was having fun.
Well, that's part of it too. Is it's not funny,
right?
You know, and it's meant to be. Is there like, you know, Christmas songs we don't like very much? Is there anything really worse than like a comedy Christmas song?
No, Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Woof. Like that's a bad song. Like I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I've got really I've got no good. That dog will not hunt, my friend.
They released a version. This was also technically a Christmas song. They used to do, or they've done live for a long time, the song called Ghost Riders in the Sky. They have a version they released under the name Ghost Reindeer in the Sky, as a ghost, you know, a joke kind of thing. But that's kind of like the surf country song. It sounds like it could be on like the New Vegas soundtrack. Yeah. To me.
Yep. Let's talk about some of the good ones.
Yes.
Like Academy Fight Song. It's a cover of Mission to Burma. Fucking great.
Oh, like I don't know if you're a Mission to Burma guy, but that album is great, Cole.
Yeah, I like Mission to Burma.
Okay, good. Because if you were just not because like not in a purity test way, but just like in the excited to like let you learn about signals, calls, and marches, like and people are listening. If you guys don't know signals, calls, and marches, get on it.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever listened to it front to back, but I really like Mission to Burma. Like that is good punk.
The singles from it, like the big songs from it, I think are like I get pumped like faster than anything. Like this chorus, like the chorus of Academy Fight Song, and the R.E.M. version is really good. It's a little bit more produced, like adding the piano is makes it a little bit more produced than the Mission to Burma version. But the chorus of this is so like brutal in a way that like feels elementally punk. That I really, really love.
And you can tell they're having fun with it. Like this is something that this is during Out of Time. It's not something they've gotten a chance to do an awful lot.
100%. and just that and it makes me like really really wish there was an R.E.M cover of That's When I Reach for My Revolver, because that Mission of Burma is good.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to do a Mission of Burma podcast. I could just go through that one album though.
Oh yeah.
It'd just be like track by track, like episode 1.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have made a good try. This it wouldn't be my first exposure to them, but it would be a an opportunity to talk about it and glow. Yeah.
But yeah, they do it justice.
Yeah,
they do a great job with it. It actually sounds really modern too. It doesn't sound dated at all. It doesn't sound overproduced, but it's a well produced cover.
Yeah. Summertime. I don't care for this one bit.
No, this is pretty bad. This was actually this isn't actually a this is that. Never mind. This is a I think this is a cover as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really boring.
Yeah.
Super super slow, like organ, kind of like bluesy organ track.
Yeah.
With kind of like barely, like half asleep lyrics.
Yeah. I don't. It takes forever for lyrics to come in. It sounds like it's going to be an instrumental. And it probably wouldn't have made that much of a difference if it was.
No, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But what's not so bad is Mike Mills taking the lead on Baby Baby.
Yeah.
This Vibrators cover, and the reason it's not so bad because if you're a Mike Mills maniac.
Gary, you and I like Mike Mills an awful lot. The video that's on YouTube for this, that person likes Mike Mills way too much.
Too much or not, or the exact right amount.
Okay.
Or should we aspire to be him?
Okay. All right.
If you're a Mills maniac, like we are, somebody did a fan video of this song. It's the version I could find that's just clips of Mike Mills.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. And the guy who did it, did you catch his YouTube?
Yeah, this is like something that his handle. No, I saw the first comment, which was like, "Oh my gosh, the amazing and sexy Mike Mills."
Yeah, the amazing and sexy Mike Mills. This is from here. I'm pulling it up right now, so I can. This is from Mike Mills Tribute, that YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Yep, bookmarking that because I need to see what else he has done. We'll see what else they have done. Okay,
but it also has a lot of interviews and stuff, like good Michael, good R.E.M. kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and some like weird solo performances that Mike Mills did.
Yeah,
but it's very sweet.
I was on YouTube or not YouTube. I was on eBay a couple weeks ago, looking for R.E.M. Simpson stuff, like pricing out some of those figurines. Saw a poster that was the Simpsons versions of R.E.M. and it was signed by Mike Mills. Mike Mills signed himself on it. I was like, man, $80 is way too much for that, possibly, or is it not enough?
Yeah, or is it the exact right amount?
Yeah.
And it's very hard to say.
That would be that is the logical intersection of two things that are very important to me, and that is the way I almost justified spending $80 on a poster signed by Mike Mills.
Yeah, someday I'll meet Mike Mills. He does that. He's in the baseball project. Like in the baseball project, plays at county fairs and shit. Like we could meet Mike Mills. Like we could at least go see him live and then like watch him do Don't Go Back to Rockville, and then like go like probably find him and drink a Bud Light with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If people think we're being ironic with that, we're not. We're laughing about it. But
it's funny, it's ridiculous, but also he's really, really talented and very sweet.
Right. Yeah.
It is a genuine fandom.
Yeah.
That I also think is funny.
Yep.
It's not even, it's less harsh than like Days of Future Cast because he's the best musician in the band.
Right.
And he's also like just seems like the most grounded too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's lots of things to recommend Mike Mills if you're Mike Mills agnostic.
We didn't talk about the song at all. It's good.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's a cover. Like it's a kind of a love song, rock song kind of thing.
Yep. And then finally, Here I Am Again, which I have no idea I can't make heads or tails of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Just super old timey.
Yep. And that's where we're at.
Yeah. So final thoughts on Out of Time. This is really good. I just wish the first half was better or that it was kind of more evenly spread around.
Yeah, I think that it's very good in general. And I think the first half is even like middling more than anything if you ignore the I'm
not going to ignore Radio Song.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to ask. It's a really good album. I actually I don't know. It's gonna be interesting when we get to Automatic for the People because I think Automatic for the People is when this trajectory they're on that goes from green to out of time to like acoustic time and eventually resulted in them being reborn like a phoenix and monster. Like when that kind of goes too far for me.
Yeah.
Like I think that album gets it worse. I think this is still really good.
Yeah.
Not peak REM, but like B+, very good REM.
Yeah. I'm not as huge of a fan of Automatic for the People, I think, as generally people are. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to talk about that in 5 weeks. So
yeah. We're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
What can people do if they like the show, Cole?
Well, if you like the show and you want to support us doing stuff like this, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and consider kicking us a couple of bucks a month, even $1, $2, $3. Whatever you can give actually does make a huge difference. You know, I spent the entire day. I didn't work. I only work part-time, and I could dedicate an entire day to researching and writing these notes because of the support that we get there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really do appreciate it. You can also tell your friends. The show is not on the bubble, but not tons of people listen to it. So if you know people you think would like it, have them give it a shot.
We'd love to have them
along. Ratings and reviews and stuff are all very useful as well.
Yeah.
I think that's probably about it.
Gary, you got to get to a show.
I do. So until next time, it is the end of the show as we know it.
And we feel fine. Hey.
say what?
I can't find that on the radio.
Turn it to that station.
Yo, turn to that station.
More music, less talk. W-R-E-M.
The world is collapsing around our ears.
I turned on the radio. I can't hear it.
When I got to the house, I could tell that you had been crying. It's that same song on the radio. I tried to turn it off to save